Welcome to another episode of The Producing Half, podcast for people who are just trying to produce and take care of their families. Today, it's kind of talk about a couple of things. First, I want to start talking about the ESG, or the Communist Chinese Social Credit Score. ESG is environmental. I have it written down. Social and governance. Environmental, social, and governance. It's just a social credit score. It is just completely like the Chinese social credit score that they use to control their populace. There's no difference. It's just the American version. The elite loved the Chinese version so much, they decided that, I guess ultimately it was always their plan, but they decided to bring it to America. And the framework for it has already been put in place. Now, behind the scenes, it's happening everywhere, but the actual framework against you, the ability to control you with it, is already in place. It's called the COVID passport. What do you think that was all about? They now have that. Got to show your QR code. Trust me, that's going to linger on as this go forward for sure. And it's everywhere. It is completely everywhere. I had to I work for a small company, but that is owned by a giant company, a global company. And so I had to sit through, and trust me, my employees, the people I work with, are about as far from HR friendly, as far as politically correct as you can get. The entire lot of them, a few hundred employees. They're not the typical people that you would see in a corporate environment, but because we're owned by a globalist corporation, which is ultimately owned by hedge funds, I had to sit through the ESG training just a month ago. It was about 2 hours long on the computer, and I have to answer questions, interact with it. They play scenarios. It was total ESG. ESG was a little bit light, but it was there. The critical race theory was heavy, and the queer theory was insanely heavy. I mean, they literally had role plays where, like, one was an old sales guy and a little bit younger but still older saleswoman asking him who he's going to take on his team, and then she names like Tammy. Well, what about Tammy? And then he's like, well, I don't know if these clients if they would get confused that Tommy is now Tammy. And then she's all, but he's your best. I'm misgendering now. She's your best employee, your best salesperson. And they have this debate about it. And then the inclusive, there was a whole section about making like they're asking people who are going to like a after work dinner or something they have once a month, and they're zooming in on the picture frames of all the people who are coming, and they're all, the perfect white families, a white father and a white mother and two white children and a white picket fence, and saying that there's no diversity in these and they need to include these gay couple, and they need to include these interracial couples, and they need to include it was so poorly done that it was insulting. I have worked with every type of person you can imagine, and none of these awkward situations happen. They don't get excluded. No one gets excluded unless they're just not likable. But all the gay guys I work with, I can't think of a single one that wasn't likable. There were some that were a little arrogant. But I've never worked with a diverse individual who was excluded because of their diversity. Not once have I ever. And have I ever even witnessed it where they were excluded for their diversity. I guess it happens out there, but I'm 47 years old and I've never seen it. So don't ask me about that. But I had to sit through this ESG, critical race theory and queer theory training, And my children who are in Texas high schools have to sit through it all too. They go through the critical race theory stuff. They go through they're bombarded with queer theory. They're bombarded with, homosexuality is bad, gay sex is good, pedophilia is good, all this, trans is good, being non-binary or just having 14 different pronouns is good. I had to sit through all this. The other day, my son texted a couple of pictures. Let me see if I could figure out how to pull them up for you. So this is his CRT training. A social status score for school. Wow. Criteria, you got homework, attendance, respect, assignment, doing homework when given, turning in, showing up to classes on time, can be absent but has to bring a signed note why, respect all teachers. I mean, it is the beginning of course, all this is reasonable stuff, but you see the framework, you see what they're doing, you see what they're implementing. They're priming the children for the communist social credit score, this ESG stuff. Let me see if I can pull up the next one. So here is the next one, just to give you an example. IEE citation, how China is using social credit scores to reward and punish its citizens. There was more slides, but he took even worse pictures of those. And you had to come up with your own social credit score criteria or things you should do to be a good citizen. And of course, his were hilarious because he is a troll in every aspect of his life. He is a troll, trust me. So his were I think one of his says you can't be rude or attack anyone unless they deserve it. So I mean, he's a troll, 100% a troll. So it is everywhere. It is coming to you, and you think that it's and the other, I talked about this before, but the other way it's going to be implemented, and this is coming, it is the blockchain. Digital, it's going to be central bank digital programmable currency, 100%. I believe I've talked about this before. It's 100% coming. It's already in the works. I've heard lots of people talk about it. Lots of, when I say people, I mean important people, not average day people who have no idea what's going on. I said something to my wife the other day. I said, I realized that we are already in the zombie apocalypse. It's just the zombies are your average Americans who follow whatever their TV says to do, and are the horde. They attack you like a zombie horde if you dare to go against the narrative that's going on. So we are already in a zombie apocalypse. But this digital programmable currency is going to be their finishing move, probably. Maybe not. It may be like the beginning of their finishing move when they start rolling it out, because they'll be able to control how you spend the money. They'll control every aspect of the money, and they can turn you off completely from the citizen from the systems if you step out of line. They can control the supply chain. They can control supply and demand. The supply of milk is too big. Well, they just make it so you can spend more money on milk. The supply of milk's too low. They make it so you can spend less money on milk. They don't. Some company falls out of favor. Well, then they will make it so you can't spend any of the digital programmable blockchain with that company or on that company's products. Or they'll just specifically narrow it down to a specific product. You fall out of favor with your company, and they'll narrow down what you can spend the money on. I'm sure these big corporations will have some input on the different factors. Now, a lot of the negative things about the programmable digital currency will be toward the middle and tail end of its implementation, when they bring it into play, because they don't want implementation. They don't want to scare everybody away from it at first, so they're going to not do any of that when they first start rolling out. It's going to be positive and good, and everyone's going to be behind it, and there's going to be a massive media campaign. a propaganda campaign because there is no media anymore. We Americans have 100% on our own as far as holding anybody to accountability because our media does none of it. Coffee. I mix decaf and caffeine because I drink so much. So it's like 75% decaffeinated and 25% caffeinated. I still drink a pot and a half or 2 pots. So I still get my caffeine. But I mix Snickerdoodle, something from HEB. It's the caffeinated with taste of Houston, taste of San Antonio. Is there a taste of Austin? Not sure. I like taste of San Antonio the best. Mix them two together, and that's that coffee. And sometimes I'll throw in like a butternut rum or something just as extra flavor. But I don't have a grinder, so I buy all my stuff pre-ground. Anyways, they're going to implement this social credit score. It's coming. They love it. It fits into all their plans and what they want to happen perfectly. So it is coming. So this is a grand effort to collapse America. And I don't know what kind of collapse. I'm not psychic, and it's hard for me to imagine the Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome scenario. I think it's more going to be a Great Depression, probably greater than we understand. I think that's probably the worst case, probably. It could be just a recession and a gradual decline, where you don't ever, like, you can't say we went from here to here, like, oh, yesterday it was this and today it's that. It's just like, oh, you remember 2 years ago it was this and now it's that kind of thing. So, you just kind of like putting a frog or a lobster or something in boiling water, but if you slowly raise the temperature kind of thing. So I think they'll slowly raise the temperature, and it'll slowly get gradually worse and worse and worse. But this is a purposeful collapse of America. Let's start off with this. Can I? I can. All right. How do I... Oh, I know. We move this to its own window. There we go. All right. All right. So this is... Palm Springs gives trans residents monthly cash payments. Wow. Huh. Trans residents. Okay. Didn't know if it would pass. Blah, blah, blah. That I was intended for my bond, considered mature, blah, blah. Council vote related. The Palm Springs voted to allocate $200,000. The council voted to allocate $200,000 to QueerWorks and DAP Health, another non-profit, I guarantee, is funded by the elites that want to collapse America. Pilot program from low-income transgender and non-binary residents. Well, if you're non-binary, aren't you binary? Because you're either binary or non-binary. Isn't that binary? It'd be the first program to guarantee specifically low-income, blah, blah, non-binary people. Palm Springs Council member, help, blah, 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 advancing LBGTQ. Lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual, Star Trek God? I don't know what the last one is. Queer? Queer? Is queer a word you can say? I mean, they say queer theory. So I'm going to go with Star Trek God, because then I can identify that. Hell, I'm LGBTQ. I'm Q, Star Trek God. These people are something special. I saw a meme once, a long time ago, and it's been making this circulation again. It says it was done whenever they were going to implement legalized gay marriage. Who cares about gay marriage? I don't care if gay people get married. I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb that they get married. That was the best thing about being gay. You shouldn't have to get married. Why would you want to do that? That's crazy. Now you have to split half your money. You got to deal with all that drama. They can take everything from you. The best thing about being gay is that you didn't have to get married. And they ruined that by getting married. Makes no sense. But I didn't care. I didn't care if gay people got married. How did that affect me at all? I did take a few seconds and think, well, they can't make churches marry gay people because that's not a law. That's a faith, a tradition, a culture. You can't force their culture onto somebody else. They're deviant. Not deviant is a bad thing, but deviant from the social norms. They're non-social norm. You can't expect all of a society, all of a societal culture and social norms to change to an extremely for an extremely small fraction of the population. It makes no sense. But this, so nobody cared. But this meme said like, well, they're going to make this, they're going to do this, and then this thing's going to happen, that happened. This thing's going to happen, that happened. This thing's going to happen, that happened. And they're all more and more ridiculous. And like the bottom ones where men are going to be women and using and playing in sports, and people are going to be marrying animals and identifying as blah, blah, blah. And it was like, well, they weren't wrong. It's that whole you give an inch to take a mile thing. Sometimes you have to be unreasonable at the very beginning because you can foresee where when you start accommodating extremely small deviant populations, then you have to keep accommodating even smaller, even more deviant populations. And again, deviant not in a bad sense of the word, just deviant as deviating from the norm. I am a deviant. I am fat. That deviates from the norm. Well, the norm for the world, not for America. America, I fit right in. And I'm fat because I eat too much and I exercise too little. Now, is my metabolism different than everybody else? Sure. I have a much more efficient metabolism. If you think about it, I could survive on a lot less food than skinny people who eat all the time and they never get fat. It's insane. I eat very little and I gain weight. That's actually a good thing if you think about it, especially with what's coming. You want a metabolism where your body is extremely efficient and can process food and a little bit of food and keep you alive. That's me. I have a very efficient metabolism. I need 1,200 calories a day. 1,200 calories a day. I don't gain weight. I don't lose weight. That is my ideal. 12 to 1,500, depending on my activity level, is my maintain my, and I'm 6'4". That maintains my body weight. So if I want to lose weight, I have to stay around 1,000 calories or less a day. And that's just my metabolism. I mean, guess what? It's not my metabolism's fault that I'm fat. I'm fat because I eat too much for my metabolism and I exercise too little for my metabolism. So all these people walking around that say they have some sort of thyroid issue or their metabolism or blah, 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 they eat less than their friends, maybe it's still your fault you're fat. You still eat too much and exercise too little for your body. I happen to like my metabolism, especially for what's coming. All you healthy, skinny people who can eat like a horse or a pig or whatever animal that metaphor will fit for, or simile, since we use the word like. All you people who can eat like a pig and never gain any weight, well, y'all are going to really be suffering in what's coming. And I'll be just fine with my one allotment of loaf of bread and my... Oh, I saw that they were passing out to the Ukrainian refugees, maybe. And there was this cute little girl. She's probably maybe 10 years old. She stood there in the video for a while, maybe 5 minutes, just waiting for somebody to hand her. And they handed her one can of something. I don't know what it was. Maybe stew, corn, beans, I don't know. And one like hard, round loaf of bread. And that's all she gets for the day. And I think she was sharing it with somebody else, her mom or something. And, well, that's sad. That's coming. Unfortunately, that's coming. But the good thing for me is that my metabolism means that while I'll be miserable and hungry, I won't starve to death and die. So, sucks to be you, skinny guy. So yeah, so the point of the this Palm Springs thing is a collapse of the culture. They had to collapse a lot of things to collapse America. America was very strong in the 50s. very, very strong. And so it had a cohesive culture. It had a cohesive economy. It had efficient manufacturing. It had a strong family unit. It had a strong societal faith or culture in a higher authority. Um, it had patriotism. It had everything really. The America of the early 1900s and in 1950s and 1960s we're starting to really it started going downhill after they implemented the Federal Reserve. It's just that they do it in stages. But America started collapsing back then, and so they started attacking those. First thing they had to do is get rid of manufacturing. Well, they were very successful in that. They turned China from a third world nation into an industrial juggernaut. You know why America did so good in the wars is because of our manufacturing. We could out-manufacture everybody. If we were to go to war with China today, we would need to defeat them in the first few weeks or months of the battle because we have no manufacturing. We will not be able to replace anything that breaks. We won't be able to build new things. You can't source anything here. You can't build anything here. It's all built elsewhere. So America will be defeated by 1,000 tiny cuts of not being able to do anything, not being able to replace any blown up or broken equipment. We've already lost whatever war we're going to fight unless we win it very quickly. We have the greatest military, and we could fight China and Russia to a stalemate until we ran out of stuff because we can't manufacture anything. God, I love that coffee. So they got rid of the manufacturing, and then they then they started attacking all the cultures. They attacked the family. I guess the next thing after getting rid of manufacturing at the same time was attack the family unit, and they did that through welfare. Before welfare attacked the black community, blacks were exponentially growing their family wealth. They were exponentially growing their general wealth, and they had the strongest family unit. The mother, the father, the kids, the faith, much, much stronger than white people. They had a much better foundation of faith, family, and wealth building. Now, granted, they had a lot of institutions against them. There were, blockbusting. There was redlining. There were, there was 100 things going against them, 1,000 things going with them, with institutional racism, and they were struggling through it and overcoming it. That's because they were Americans, and that's what Americans do. Well, how do you destroy that? You destroy that with welfare. So welfare destroys a lot of things. It destroys faith. It destroys family. It destroys community. It destroys wealth. It brings back slavery and enslaves you. You're enslaved to the welfare. So they attacked blacks with welfare first, and then the rest of us. And then they're just flooding the entire country with welfare people. So they attacked family units and the family culture, and then they started attacking the financial. They got to get rid of the middle class. The middle class is too powerful. They started attacking the family units of the rest of the people with all of this LBG crazy stuff and gays, and they started attacking the general American culture, and they attacked faith, and they attacked patriotism. And then, and now they've attacked identity. They're attacking your mind now. They are destroying your ability. Well, they've been doing that. They poison us with all these poisons in our food. I still eat some poisons. You just can't help it. And I haven't weaned myself on all of them. Who knows what's in the coffee beans, but I still eat like some ranch dressing that has some poisons in it. But basically, I eat lettuce or romaine lettuce, onions, and chicken. That's pretty much all I eat on a weekly basis, and throw in some refried beans and some lots of cheese, lots of cheese. But the poisons, the processed foods that they're giving you these days, they're just completely poisoning you. The waters are poisoned, the pollutants are everywhere. The autism is completely because of environmental factors. 98% of it is environmental, or 75. It doesn't matter, but it's a high percentage is environmental. I want to say it's probably related to phosphate usage in the fertilizers in the ground. We're all suffering from, and fluoride. Fluoride brings down your IQ. Lead. I remember playing with lead ingots and lead weights and stuff when I was a kid. No one ever said anything about it. It explains a lot, actually, if you think about it. But I mean, there was leaded gas. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. All the things they did to poison us, and a lot of it was. It's not like it's a conspiracy. It just fit in with. They didn't care. It was all about money and control. And I don't know about the whole fluoride in the water thing. I feel like that has to be some sort of sinister conspiracy, because they know. I mean, Russians purposely used fluoride in their water in the gulags to lower the people's resistance and make them less aggressional. It's a new word. Less aggressive and more docile, and it made them. It lowered their IQ. They were easy to control. So Russia did this. We know this is a fact. You can go read about it and look it up. But yet we put it in our water. Fluoride, the fluoride that we put in our water is not even the good halogen. You need halogen. You need some. You need versions of fluoride. When I brush my teeth, I have fluoride toothpaste and non-fluoride toothpaste. And so I'll use the fluoride toothpaste once or twice a week. And I use the non-fluoride toothpaste for the rest of the week. Because we're all suffering from fluoride poisoning. We all have too much fluoride because it's in the water, it's in the cans. When you eat canned food, it's in all your vegetables. It's in everything is contaminated with fluoride. So even if we did need it, we all have too much of it. So I have switched from that. But it's just everywhere. The poisons are everywhere, and it's just so they attacked every aspect of us, and they're. We want to say they're just incompetent. They're incompetent because they're greedy. They're incompetent because they're dumb, and the cream rise to the top will sow those turds kind of thing. And when you have a bureaucracy, the people in control of the bureaucracy are always the people you don't want to be in control of the bureaucracy, because the people you want to be in control of the bureaucracy, they don't want to be in control of the bureaucracy. Think about any institution where it's a popularity contest, or it's like you have to be kind of like a politician to do. The people who are going to rise to the top are not the people you want to be there, because the people who are just out there doing it, the plumbers and the electricians who are just out there working, they're not interested in that. They have no desire. They're producers, and so they have no desire to feel powerful or productive by controlling others. These evil people at the top of our government and at the top of any bureaucracy, they derive their self-worth by controlling and implementing power and control over other people. I've talked about it before, but that book I read when I was about 15 was Whatever Happened to Justice, Uncle Eric book maybe, and it talked about how political power was more addictive than heroin, because political power you just get is there a monster? You hear a monster? Political power, you just get you get people with guns to implement your power. You get if I have a company, I can't use my economic power to force you to buy my product. I can use my power to force other competitors out of the market, but I can't force you as a consumer to buy my. But if I have political power, I can literally have guns pointed at your head and make you buy whatever product I'm trying to sell, whether it's IRS or COVID passport or whatever. And so there's just this huge concerted effort to bring down America. Think about Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a flare into the sky, and it was saying, "Here, world, the rest of the world, looky here, America's over. Look what we're doing. We're incompetent. We have no idea what's going on. We are." It was literally a purposeful. There's no way on earth that Afghanistan was on accident. I knew what would happen. Literally everybody on earth knew what would happen if we did the way we did. They all knew it. There was lots of warnings. There was official reports. We all knew that was what would happen if we did it that way. Afghanistan, you got to stop thinking that these people are idiots and incompetent. This is a discussion I get in all the time with people. Well, like, oh, well, the government's just dumb. No, they're not. They're smart. They're smarter than you. They're smarter than me. They're smarter than all of us. They have all the money in the world. They have psychiatrists and psychologists, and they have geniuses. They have supercomputers, AIs. They know what's going to happen when they do the things they do. Afghanistan was a signal to the rest of the world to collapse. They're like, okay, America's done. Ukraine, the sanctions they put against Russia were 100% purposeful to collapse the dollar, to drive Russia and other countries off the dollar. There's no other logic behind that. That was what was going to happen. When you start seizing other countries' reserve funds in the financial institutions of the world banks, well, then who's going to use the dollar? And it had to have been done to collapse the dollar, to drive people away from the dollar. You've got to get rid of the dollar. The dollar has protected America for the last 20 years. I mean, ultimately since Nixon, but especially for the last 20 years when we should have been collapsing. All the naysayers out there, the doom and gloom people out there are like, oh, the stock market's collapsing. We're stock market's collapsing. The Ron Pauls, they're right. They just failed to take into account how long it would take because of how much of the dollar was propped up by the rest of the world. And the rest of the world would resist the collapse of the dollar because it would be bad for them as well. They had so much tied into it. Still do. The COVID lockdowns, locking down destroying the middle class. That's what COVID lockdowns were about. The Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazons, all the giant corporations profited hugely. Quoting Trump, hugely. I can't do that. Hugely. I can't do Trump's. They all profited hugely. It was fantastic for them. The billionaires became even richer. The trillionaires became even richer. There are trillionaires. They became even richer and more powerful. It was great for them. It destroyed the small business. It got rid of the small business. That's what the lockdowns. There was no remote science behind it. There's no science. They keep saying trust the science. There's no science. It was specifically done to destroy the economy, to shut down. I mean, you know how many people died in the third world nations? Not to mention who are about to die because of the starvation. It was done on purpose. It had to destroy the economy. They had to destroy the economic engine of America. And they also had to get people used, more new words. They also had to get people used to government handouts and checks and not working and staying home and doing what you're told and obeying. I mean, it was the greatest experiment, test run, and it was a success. They found out, wow, Americans aren't as independent and resistant to being controlled as we thought they are. Let's go ahead and roll. It's always been Agenda 2030, but it may be Agenda 2023 at this point, or 2024 or 2025. I don't know how we could stretch this out to 2030. It's falling so fast. But it was always going. For 20 years, I've seen people talk about Agenda 2030 and what's going to happen and how it's going to be implemented. And they publish papers on it. They talk about it. They're not hiding it from us. If you don't have one of these type of cups, now it says not to put it in the dishwasher. I do, and it destroys the paint, but what do I care? The paint, the enamel, I guess. But man, they keep things hot for a long, long time. I don't know why it took them so long to invent something like this. I guess it's got a vacuum separating the two pieces of metal, and a vacuum's a great insulator, so the heat doesn't transfer through. But man, you should only ever drink. I got rid of all my. I still have them. There's in the back of the cabinets. I bought like 20 of these, and we just use these. Keep your iced tea cold and everything. They're perfect. Product review. I'll have to put up. This is sponsored by cheap metal tumblers. It's all, the COVID lockdowns were to give it to the middle class. We're all gone. We're done. The endless boosters. That's an attack on our health. It's an attack on our minds. It's the whole cognitive dissonance, or just the inability to tell what's right and what's wrong. The ability to understand what's going on. It makes no sense. I've seen studies now, mainline studies coming out, where they're starting to admit that The spike proteins and the poison and the boosters are getting into the bloodstream. All those things are implementing. Let's see who's at my front door if I want to bother. Well, they're gone, so I guess I don't want to bother. It makes no sense. We know what that it's like. First of all, it's like a common cold. Is it monsters? They're monsters. We know it's like a common cold. I had the both. I had the go get them. I had the yeah, you get them, dog. You go get them. I had the Delta and the Omni. The Delta was bad for 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. I took the horse medicine and was fine. And then I didn't even take any medicine for the Omni. I was just sick for a week, and I just went on about my life, just a little mild cold, really. I did lose my taste and smell again, and it really never came back 100%. It never came back 100% from that. It came back like 80%. Now I'm probably about 60% maybe. There's some things I can't taste. I haven't tried a steak recently, but the last time I had steak, I really couldn't taste it, which is bad and good because I love steak, but good because who can afford it? But the COVID, the endless boosters are just part of the attack on your mind and your body. They hate you. So you have to understand that these elites, not only do they think you're a fool, not only do they think they're slaves, that you're a peon, you're serf, they actually hate you. You need to understand that's how they do these things. Fauci hates you. Bill Gates hates you. The powers behind the powers, they hate you. You need to realize that. The devaluing of the dollar. I mean, all the checks they sent, they flooded the economy with all this money. I am talking to you via an elite gaming system, although I don't game. I would like to, just don't ever have time. Probably close to $4,000 computer. This entire setup was bought with Trump money. I would never have bought any of this stuff without the checks from the government. Bought a couple of guns as well. I bought things that I would never have bought with the free money because it was free money, but it's not. That all this stuff cost me many times as many thousands of dollars in devaluing the currency. You have to understand that. You should read books on economy, on economics, even though you don't understand them. I've said this before. I don't even understand. Why is my Audible? Oh, there it is. I do pay for Audible. I said I got rid of all my subscription services, but I do pay for Audible. Audible gives you a lot of free books. You can download stuff on through crowd sharing sources, I guess, instead of using Audible. Well, not Weconomics. I got big fingers. Economics. So like Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt is a good book. I don't know. I don't remember reading this, but it's in my thing. I might have downloaded it. But like The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman. There's some books I haven't read. Been going through is one insanely epic series that's taking. I think I'm on book 11, trying to get through it all before I go back to reading my Audibles. But my Audible expires. You lose all your credits next month, so I got to buy a bunch of books today. Economics for Dummies was a good one to do that one, and then The Economic Weapon. I don't think I've read that one either. These are the books that I've purchased. That the Economics of One Lesson I read, and I think Economics for Dummies I listened to. But you've got to. I didn't understand a lot of it. It was up beyond me, but I picked up things. You still gain from it. I listen to high-level physics lectures all the time. All the time. I listen to things on physics where they're talking about quantum mechanics and they're getting in the nitty-gritty and field theory. I understand 1% of it, but I always pick up one little thing, one little small thing. I remember a long time ago, I'm talking before any of my children were born, reading a passage about strong nuclear force and the exchange of maybe 2 pi mesons or something. And I don't understand what any of that is, but you pick it up and you understand, there's a particle in strong nuclear force that's holding together the nucleus of the atom. You should always be trying to learn and grow things and listen to things even if you don't understand them, even if they're way beyond you. I listen to high-level math lectures all the time on YouTube. I'll watch videos on advanced mathematics. I'm talking about, I made it through Cal 4. I was a A student in college in mathematics, mathematics student of the year every year I went. In other words, I had the highest math average of anyone on the campus. And what is that? Kuma Sam Lada, whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at that stuff. It was a long time ago. So I'm good at math, but this is stuff that I do not understand. And I don't remember any of this. My greatest flaw in life is my lack of, I can't retain anything. If I don't, I can learn it again really quick because I have the core fundamentals, but I don't retain anything. I can read a book and then go back to that book 10 years ago and be like, man, I don't remember any of this. I don't remember anything about the book. Sometimes I can go back a month later and be like, did I read this book? I don't remember. Let me read a little bit and see. But then I remember just the strangest facts. But devaluing the dollar was a huge. The obvious lies everywhere. Everything's a lie. And it's so obviously. Oh, I guess I could have closed this and it made the screen look better. Huh. I guess I maybe should have done that. It does look a little better. Or whitewashed. Or better. I guess I should have, the obvious lies. It's because, so you don't know what's what. You have no idea. Everything coming at you is like, is it true? It's like, you end up just believing the narrative. Because what other choice do you have? If anybody deviates from the narrative, they're instantly racist, they're Russian supporters, they're whatever, the QAnon, whatever. And think about all the people who were canceled, all the people who were banned because they said things like the COVID could have been made in a lab. Well, that's a fact now. That's an indisputable fact now. But they were banned for saying it, for just asking the question. Y'all, Americans need to start getting really upset about this and doing something about it. And at this point, with all these, the fact that they've eroded the trust in the FBI and the CIA and the government and everywhere. I mean, at this time, if there's any kind of high-level crime out there, all the Americans should just get together and go arrest the FBI because they probably did it. You know, and if there's any kind of international crime, we should all get together and go arrest the CIA because they probably did it. I mean, these guys who supposedly kidnapped, was it Whitmer, the Michigan governor? They were bumbling fools that the FBI decided to create some plot, and then the FBI went and sold the plot to them, and these guys are like, oh, smoking their joints, oh, what's going on, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. They were never going to do anything. They were just going to talk about it. Like most of the people today, we don't do anything, we just talk about it. And so then the FBI is dragging these poor fools along on the FBI's plot to kidnap the governor. When are we going to arrest these FBI agents who plotted to kidnap the governor? Because it wasn't these bumbling fools. 2 of them just got off. The other 2, mistrials. I think there may have only been like 4 of them. When are we going to try the FBI for their plot to kidnap a government? It's insanity. The CIA is constant. CIA, I mean, you can just go look at my old conspiracy video I did about all the plots the CIA's did. Why aren't they all arrested or on guillotines? Not guillotines. What would it be when you hang people? They're on gallows. I mean, it's insanity. The selective prosecution that happens in America erodes your trust, and that's it. I mean, somebody said something the other day because there's always, you got your Nest cameras and everything, and people are always breaking into people's cars or trying to break into somebody's door. And somebody, I'll shoot that guy. And then somebody else replied, I replied, well, since our prosecutor in this area was 100% put in office by George Soros, if you were to shoot somebody actively trying to break into your home and kill your family, that's what you got to assume, the prosecutor would come after you. 100% you're going to jail because you shot somebody. Unless the sheriff's investigating or something, that prosecutor is going to try to get behind you. But if you're a rioter and you burn down stuff and destroy stuff, you're okay. You're going to get let out of jail. If you're a shoplifter, you're going to get let out. If you're anything that agrees with their agenda to collapse America, you're going to get away with it. If you're Hillary Clinton, you can create you can commit high crimes. You can commit, probably murder many times over. You can do anything you want, and you're going to be fine. But if you're one of somebody who worked with Trump, they're going to go through every piece of paper you ever put your signature to and try to find something that you made a mistake from. I'm in finance. Let me tell you, everybody lies on their mortgage application. They lie by carelessness, really. It's not really a lie. They lie through just, I worked there from there to there. They don't want to go figure out when they really worked there. But they sign that everything's truthful. That's a lie. They could come back and prosecute you because you missed your employment dates. Would they? No, unless they want to get you for something. You really can't lie about your income these days because they verify it, crossways many, many times. So unless you're self-employed and you're willing to pay the taxes on fake income, there's really no way to cheat the system. You could just file tax returns showing you made more money than you do, pay the IRS, and lenders will use those tax returns to verify your income. And at that point, that's probably the only way you could lie. You could say you make $50,000 a year legitimately. You could tell the IRS for 2 years straight that you made $100,000 a year, pay the extra taxes, and then when you go to finance something, you would have 2 years tax returns saying you make $100,000. They would, 99% of all banks are not going to dig any deeper. They're not going to want to see cash flow. They're not going to want a CPA to sign off of it. They're not going to want an official profit and loss statement from a CPA. They're going to accept your tax returns and probably some QuickBooks, profit and loss statement that you did yourself, and you're going to be able to move on. But the selective prosecution is a huge thing. The purposeful collapse of the supply chain. It is not an accident. I've been talking about this for over a year now. For over a year, for a better part of 2 years, I've been complaining about the supply chain and its purposeful collapse. It is on purpose, obviously on purpose. They are constantly doing things to collapse the food chain and to collapse the supply chain. Think about what's going to happen with the fertilizer and the farmers come this fall. I hope you're preparing. As much as you can. There's not much I can do. I live in a city and I don't have extra money. But I'm doing what little I can do on a monthly basis. The elimination of manufacturing we talked about. Another thing is just the structure of cultural institutions. What cultural institution do we even care about anymore? The Oscars? I didn't even know there was Oscars until Will Smith slapped that dude. Poor Will Smith, man. Why is he with that crazy woman? I don't really care. They're all insanity. They're all insane. Don't bother me none. I did like some of his movies though. I liked his the zombie apocalypse one. I like that one. But like the destruction of NASA. It's so sad what they did to NASA. That was on purpose. Why would they do that? Why would they destroy NASA? All the destruction of all of our institutions, of anything. I can't think of any institution that I look up to and respect. Nothing. FDA, don't trust. CDC actively wants to murder people. FDA actively wants to murder people. FBI actively murders people, actively commits high crimes. CIA has always been an evil institution controlled by the elites. All your local DA's offices are controlled by the elites and only prosecute Americans, real Americans. Your police went to local small businesses that were right next to a giant Walmart full of people coughing on each other and locked down these little small businesses. Can't trust the police either anymore. Yeah, I love cops. Well, I don't love cops, but I love the idea of cops out there protecting and serving. What kid did not want to be a cop? And for all you police out there who are out there protecting and serving, hey, more power to you. You're a real American hero. Congratulations. But for all you cops out there that arrested mom and pops for trying to support their family, opening their business, screw you, you evil piece of crap. You're supporting a globalist takeover of America. You're anti-American. You're unconstitutional. You're an evil piece of shit. Sorry. But there's just destruction of all the institutions. There's nothing you can trust anymore. There's nothing that has any value. There's nothing to look up to. Congress is a joke. Journalists are a joke. It's all just a joke. And that's why I don't see us coming back from this unless unless we do something drastic, unless it gets super, super bad. And then the Americans finally rise up and do something about it. But birth rate's down, lifespan's down, standard of living is down. Everything is going the wrong direction. These people are smart. It's not on accident. It is on purpose. That is what you need to realize. Well, I've ranted and raved enough. The dog is tired of me not paying attention to it. Chewy? Yeah. So that'll be it for today. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Producing Half.